Hello everyone, this is the iFlight TurboBee 120 RS, featuring 1103 10,000 kV motors, Gym Fan 2540 props, the iFlight Success flight stack, which is 2 to 4S compatible and has an F4 flight controller with an OSD, 12 amp 4-in-1 ESC, pit mode to 200 milliwatt VTX supported via tramp control protocol, Caddx EOS 2 camera. It comes with an extra set of props, 2 extra battery straps, the longer battery straps on the quad, and a baggie of extra screws. It weighs just over 57 grams. Arms look to be 3 millimeters thick and 4 millimeters wide. Top plate is 1.5. Motor post to motor post, I'm getting 122 millimeters. As we get into this video, please remember that when I was flying this and when I recorded most of this video, this was still rated with 10,000 kV motors and these props at 2 to 3S. Fortunately, later we found 3S would result in a burnt motor. iFlight has updated their website. Banggood, it's a little bit ambiguous still. Other listings could be ambiguous, so be careful. With 10,000 kV motors and these props, 2S only. There is a 4S version, but I haven't tested that one yet. In this flight, I am using a GNB 2S 450 milliamp battery, so you have an idea of the power system, and you'll see those wavy lines. In this case, I do think we could use a TPU print that was thicker to hold the camera in place. And I did move it around, and eventually what I found on the 2S flight was that if I moved it all the way to the top, and I put a little bit of foam tape in the top and kind of secured the camera to the top plate, that those wavy lines decreased to a point where I didn't notice them. But you should be seeing them in the DVR that we have. And on 2S, it flies pretty well. And I say on 2S because on 3S is a no-go. As far as I'm concerned, this should not be flown on 3S because I think you'll end up with a damaged motor if you fly very hard or you fly very aggressively on 3S. 10,000 kV on these props, it's just too much. It can't handle it. I only got 2 flights, and I will show you the part of the second flight where the motor died, just so you get some idea of the performance. I just think it was a bad idea for 1103 10,000 kV pushing tri-blades that are 2.5 inches, 25 by 40 on the pitch, and it's just a combination that performs well, but it can't be handled. Unfortunately, we've seen this a few times from a few manufacturers where they test something, but I'm not certain how much they test it, or I guess I shouldn't say they test something. I don't know if these things are tested or not. I don't work for any of these companies. I don't know what they really do. All I know is that when I get something and they tell me something, I can either report it or not to you guys, or believe it or not. And I'm a skeptic sometimes, unless they show me video proof that they've been flying it around. And then I have to question, well, how hard are you flying it? And what's the temperature outside? Because in the days I was flying this, it was only about 84 degrees, which is pretty cool for this time of year here. So I really can't say the environment helped to warm up those motors on 3S and cook them. But the motor, when I went over and found it, was smoking hot. Wasn't the kind of motor that I would keep my fingers on for very long at all. Maybe a second or two, and then you pull it back and go, ah. But on 2S, you know, if you have a bunch of 2S batteries and you're looking to get into something like this that's an RTF, it does seem to be a pretty good model. I think you'll use some double-sided sticky tape on the top, and you didn't see that in the quick roll because I pulled it off for the quick roll. Didn't want to give that tip away, and that will help secure your camera to the top plate. But of course, you don't want the camera at the top plate because you want some added protection. You may have to redesign their 3D printed mounts. There may be some on Thingiverse already. The flight time isn't outstanding, but I think you could probably do a 550 milliamp battery and get by just fine. I don't think it would have perfected the performance too much. This is our 3S flight, and we're not going to see a whole lot of this. I think it's about 1.5 minutes long. It's on the same tune. It did come with the tune, which I thought the tune was pretty sufficient on 2S. On 3S, it felt a little bit better as far as the control, at least what I'm looking for out of a tune, but unfortunately, it's just not made for 3S. And I don't think a better tune would have been the difference between the motor burning and the motor not burning. I think this is just ill-conceived as far as the specs go. I also noticed that if I removed that foam tape that you see in this flight, because I was actually doing some other testing, I wanted to see if it was smoother on 3S by chance. I know it was ridiculous, but I wanted to try. So I removed the tape, and I think the vibrations that we see are actually more severe now on 3S than they were on 2S. So yet another reason to only go 2S. One, you don't want to burn up your motors. And 2, it'll be a little smoother video footage without having to do any modifications. But you can see that the pop that we get over the house, the thrust, it's faster. As you can expect, you know, you got a bigger battery, you're pumping more cells through it, it's going to respond more aggressively. Whether that's something you want or not, you have to choose. I did have, obviously, a crash when the motor failed, and I can report that it didn't have a breakage, so that's good. You know, those skinny arms at 4 millimeters thick, they seem to hold up. I do plan to put some larger motors on this, something that would handle 3S, maybe 1105s, 1104s. There's the motor failure. Then I come over and fetch it, and then we have this section here where I'm going to actually film that the motor has failed. So one of the things that I think iFlight does pretty well is their carbon. I have not heard widespread reports of carbon failures on iFlight frames, so I had some pretty good confidence, and I actually like the look of this quite a bit, and for my flight style, a stretched X fits pretty well, but that's something you have to choose whether it fits you or not. It tends to hold lines pretty easy, and then it actually corners real good when you've got the nose down and you're going around something, which I do a lot of course. But if you're someone who does a little different flight style, I try to show you some of that in the footage that we've seen as well. The VTX does get very, very hot. Even on 25 milliwatts, it still gets very, very hot. So when you're flying this, don't pick it up here, because that could possibly burn you, depending upon how sensitive your skin is. I would pick it up somewhere else. This gets really, really hot, and if your fingers touch these edges, it could be uncomfortable. Also, the antenna mounting posts, I cut those down. They come much longer in the box, but I cut them down because I wanted to keep them down. They do have this mount back here made for this antenna to go in, but I didn't find it would stay in. You could start it with it in there. You might want to glue it in there using some sort of flexible or silicone-based adhesive to make it stay in there. I didn't have any problems, obviously, with flying it and getting it chopped up in the props, but I didn't fly it a lot because I had that failure. I did add the battery lead securing back here to the rear post, so if I had a battery ejection, it would pull on that zip tie and the post and not the pads off of that iFlight Success stack. Also in the footage, I should have brought this up while we were talking about it in the flight footage, I'm not certain this is a 4:3 or 16:9 camera. So that's something that maybe you can enlighten me to, and I can learn a little bit about what to look for in the footage, of whether it's 16:9 or a 4:3, or if you've got 16:9 that's being squeezed into 4:3. It seemed zoomed in though, like it had a smaller lens on it or something, and you can see right there it's still got the 1/3 lens on it. It just seemed much more zoomed in, but that could have been because I've been flying the Runcam Nano 2, which has a wider field of view. So I could be misrepresenting that. That's something that you'll need to take a look at. I don't think I'm particularly good about noticing those things or identifying those things in the FPV view and what exactly it is. My thing is more flights and flying and having fun. I'm not a fan of these battery straps. Never have been, never will. They just don't secure batteries down very much, and to get them secured very well, you've really got to use a lot of pressure. So how I do it, I don't thread them through there because I find that just disgusting. I put a lot of pressure on the top, and then I work it over with my fingers, and I use the gummy pad to press it down so I have a little bit more tension, and I get it on there, and then the gummy pad kind of comes back a little bit. That's how I use it. I would say just get yourself a different battery strap. They do include 3. You can use them. I suspect the most hardcore of pilots out there probably have a bin full of short battery straps that you might want to use anyways. I do like the fact that they added heat shrink to the motor wires. It makes it look clean. And then they added this tape, which I still have yet identified. This is not fuzzy tape, and this tape always seems to stay down. Every tape that I've used is either fuzzy, and if it's not fuzzy, the Tessa tape, then the edges come up. And it drives me nuts. Maybe it's how I'm applying it. Maybe they're using gloves, and so they're not getting any skin oil on the tape, and that makes it stay down. I have tapes that look and feel like this, but they just don't stay down like this. And obviously I want to get some because I keep talking about it in various videos. Also, we have soft mounting. We have these rubber O-rings down here. These are also soft mounts in here, so that helps to minimize the micro vibrations that get into your flight stack, although I will say there's not a lot of movement there. I don't know how effective that is, especially when you have a flight stack that's 16x16, so it's not very heavy. I don't know how much it would move, but it's a good idea to have it. I got the FlySky version, and right down in there you can see that's where the button is for binding. So in order to reach that, I actually had to use my little handy dandy paintbrush thingy, and I maneuvered it forward a little bit. I kind of got it in here and I got it squished back, and then I had my blue tack, and I would secure down my battery lead like that. And so then when I have my battery here, I would use my little filed off paintbrush thingy. I'd push down on that button, hear the little click, plug in the battery, then you can see the red and green lights, and you're ready to bind. So if you like how it flew on 2S and you have 2S batteries, you might be in the market for this, but if you're wanting to fly it on 3S, I say it's a no-go, look elsewhere. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.